What's up, guys? My name is Jimmy. I am a digital marketer in Los Angeles, California. And I decided to do a 30-day local challenge. So every single day, I will be looking at a different local niche. And I'll just do a quick digital marketing analysis of the things that I'm seeing. The intention really is to contribute to anyone that's looking in this niche. Maybe they have a business in this niche. But also a lot of the thought processes and methodologies that I'm talking about can apply to you if you have a local business. So today we're going to do daycares. I don't want to do anything too specific to Los Angeles only. So the daycare location that I'll zero in on is going to be Seattle. My sister lives there with my brother-in-law, my nephew. So let's just jump right into it. So the first thing that I would do would be Google Daycare Seattle. And so when I Google Daycare Seattle, I'm going to be taking a look at things like, search volume. So my first tip would be get a keyword plugin tool called Keywords Everywhere. This is a totally free tool for you guys to use. It just plugs right into Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and it will give you some really important information pretty easily around things around like search volume, related keywords. So one of the interesting ones I see right now is daycare near me. So, for local businesses, daycare near me or near me searches are really popular. And one of the big indications in near me is voice. So if you do things like, hey Siri, what is the nearest daycare near me? Siri's going to pull it up. And look at that. So anyway, it does kind of speak to the importance of, local and how people are searching for local. And so you would just take a look at, well, okay, what are people looking for? So daycare near me, this would really trigger, okay, Google My Business is going to be really important. So we'll get into that later. But you do want to look at the related keywords just to see, what type of keywords are there. So you see things like in-home daycare, daycare downtown Seattle, which I think is a good one, just because there's a lot of great companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Expedia that are all down there. Some branded, it looks like We Are the World, North Seattle, so another geographical, Seattle daycare waitlist. This is interesting. So maybe there is a waitlist problem going on, or there's a lot of waitlists for daycare centers. And then you can also just see some other related keywords. So infant daycare, West Seattle, another location modifier. So, you can just kind of get a good idea of what are keywords, and it can all happen within the same screen or interface, which I think is important. But now moving on to some actual analysis of what I see. So Google My Business is going to be big. So you can see how the first thing is that it's kind of the first thing you see. The only other thing that you may see is ads. So if people are bidding on the keyword, you'll see that here, but I don't see that. So it could mean that it's not a very effective means of, converting people, or people are just not doing it. And so maybe, if I were a daycare center in Seattle, I might run a few ads just to see if no one is really bidding on them. And, it is 2:01 right now. And, I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm on the same time zone. It's a little interesting. Maybe the mornings or night times are better periods of ads. So, I would just monitor that. But one of the big things with Google My Business is that you treat it like your website. So this is like a microsite totally for Google Maps or Apple Maps, and you want to have your keyword show up. So, we are looking at daycare Seattle. We could look at variations of infant care, child care, preschool, kindergarten, whatever it is that you want to do. You typically want to have that keyword show up here. So it's interesting that, we're seeing nobody in the top 3 doing that. And sometimes it may not be too far-fetched. Like maybe, these guys are directly in the center of Seattle with location, because location and where you are is the #1 ranking factor. But I don't know. You can see that Seattle Learning Center is here. There's another one here. There's another one here. It's pretty kind of stretched out. So I don't know if that's the case. So I would take a look at, how are other people competing? And I don't really see anyone that's targeting the keyword daycare Seattle or childcare Seattle or any variation. So one of the first things for me is like, oh, wow, if I'm not in the top 3, or even if I'm in the top 3, I want to start adding the keywords here. just because that is going to really either solidify my positioning in the top three, or it can help me move up into the top three. So, if I'm Bright Horizons at West Seattle, I might just add in, Daycare Seattle here, and you might just move immediately into the top three. Another thing that you do want to pick out as well is how are people positioning themselves. So the top three position themselves as daycare center. Let's just say I did childcare. Let's see what would happen. Okay, so if we do childcare, the results are a little bit different, right? So we see a Little People's World, inter like childcare, laser childcare, and these two likely came up into the top three because they're using the keyword childcare. But we're seeing some variation across how they position themselves. So we see daycare center here, childcare, daycare. So it just does tell me that there is a big opportunity, and it also just kind of validates that your usage of the keyword is going to be super important. Or childcare or whatever it is. And the other thing as well is that these images, right? Um, you want to have some good images. You want to have images of outside, of inside. You may want to have some videos. You may want to do some 360 videos or images. This is a big touch point because right now we are very image heavy with Instagram and Facebook. But the other thing too is you can actually just really name your images with your keyword. So what you would basically do, you would save your image, but you would include your target keyword. So I have a picture of the front of my house or whatever, and then I would name it Daycare Seattle JPG or something like that. Or you can add your brand, right? So Seattle Learning Center, Daycare Seattle, and that's just how you would name your image. It's exactly like when you are setting up the optimization for your website. It's going to pull from the images, and based on how you name the images, it will consider that a factor of like, hey, this is what this page is about. Same thing with Google My Business. If you have images that are named Daycare Seattle, Childcare Seattle, it's just another metric. It's another data point for Google to pull from. The other area that you can really make a difference as well is, Google My Business does have a 750 character limit where you can just add a blurb about your business. So again, I would have the keyword show up there as well. So insert keyword here, add some more images with the keyword, make sure your business has a blurb about the business that use the keyword, get some reviews, add some pictures. But that would be a real fast way to start to optimize, especially when this is what I would consider a micro website, and the competition does not seem to be doing much. So it could be a quick way to get your presence there. So that's the first thing that I look at with local is just how are they positioned with Google My Business. So that's one aspect. The second thing I'm going to look at is I'm always going to look at the organic results. So whenever I see, news articles or directories, it tells me that the space is a little bit open. So one of the things I have noticed with local businesses is they tend not to really consider digital marketing, or they tend to not really look at what are the options that they have available to them, or making sure that their websites are very modern looking. They tend to I've noticed with local companies that they tend to lag behind implementing or applying things that are really important today. And so this just tells me that predictably what we see down there, they may have not done SEO, or they may not be doing ads to get traffic onto their site, because ultimately, one of the most important ranking signals is going to be traffic. What are people doing when they come onto your site? And these guys have just kept the traffic. So another interesting thing, though, is parents struggling with daycare waitlists. So the daycare area should be very lucrative, it looks like. You might want to be opening daycares, actually, if you're in Seattle. There are 2 articles that are in the top 5 that kind of speak to the issue with childcare and daycare waitlists. So that's probably why we saw this actually right here. This is something that people are searching for. So this is a problem, and it does tell me that people are looking. And so you do 100% want to be here. But, let's say you were the only result that was right here. People are going to click on you. You know what I mean? Like, people are definitely going to click on you. Let's just say that we wanted to take a look at, from a mobile perspective, how this looked as well. Let's just see how we look mobilely. Okay, so you can see again, the Google Maps are going to show up, and then it is going to be mostly, you're going to see the top 3, and it's just not going to have a single provider on there. So you definitely want to be top 3. So let's just see who's on the top 3. All right, so we see Seattle Learning Center. So immediate feedback when I see this one is they're not HTTPS. So HTTPS is a secure version of your website. So you can see everyone that is in the top 5 has HTTPS. It's kind of a basic thing, but this kind of speaks to what I said earlier, where sites that local sites tend to not be as nice. They tend not to have the newest things that Google will consider to be important. And so that's the immediate thing that I see. They're also not using the keyword, daycare Seattle or childcare Seattle. They're actually targeting Queen Anne. So Queen Anne, I think, is a neighborhood in Seattle. But if you Google childcare Queen Anne, right? Let's just see what the search volume is. And this is where keywords everywhere becomes pretty useful. So they're saying 0. And their related keywords are daycare near me, Seattle Learning Center, Queen Anne childcare, et cetera, daycare Seattle cost. Okay. So this doesn't look like it would be a great search. I don't know if you really want to target that. Let's do Queen Anne childcare. See if that provides any better results. This gets about 20 searches a month. So maybe this is something that, it might not be a bad keyword to be ranking for. And then here is Seattle Learning Center, but they're still down here. So this gets 20 searches a month. It's not bad, but especially because if you get one child, it's, the lifetime value of a child could be high, but 20 a month is pretty low. You may want to add in, you can keep this if you want, but you may want to add in, Seattle, daycare as well here. You're kind of missing out on a lot of searches if this provides 260 searches versus the 20, and Queen Anne is within the range of what people will consider Seattle. So going back to that, so I would have it here. Another thing to look at is going to be, what did Google bold? So based off of what Google bold, it is what Google is using, what keywords Google is using to address and pull up results for the keyword. So on Seattle, childcare, I think I saw daycare earlier. Let me see, there's daycare. Yeah, here's daycare. These are keywords that you want to use. You see how they are using best childcare and daycare in Seattle, and they target that in their title tag as well. So, you really do want to model what the top results are doing. And the top results, they're using some variation of daycare, childcare, the keyword Seattle, Washington. It does give you a good idea of how you should position yourself. So this right here is what we call a title tag. So it's super easy to adjust. You just have your developer do it, or you guys can do it yourself. If you have WordPress or Wix or Strikingly. You would also want to adjust this. This is called a meta description. And if we kind of jump into what this site actually looks like, one of the big things to consider is conversion optimization. We call it CRO, and it's like, how easy is it for someone to convert on your website? So when I hit the site, it's kind of an older looking site. If I were to bet, I would say this was built sometime in the earlier 2000s. You can see the images look kind of stretched out. And the other thing too is you do want to think of things as a funnel, right? So, I read left to right, but, because I look left to right, my focus is on here, not so much focus here. If anything, I would move this down to here so that, they see the image and it may be less stretched out. Also, then they're funneled to looking to their programs, our programs. So you really do want to think of like the psychology of how people look, how they think, but also you want to direct them. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, pretend like a seventh grader is looking at your website. Will they be able to figure out everything that you want them to figure out, and will they ultimately take the action you want them to take? So when it comes to like daycares or childcare or whatever, it is one of those things where there doesn't seem to be too much branding that's happening, and so it's going to be more important for you to look professional and make it easy for someone to reach out to you. So like number one call to action is here. But this is not clickable. So usually if it's clickable and you scroll over it, there'll be a little box here that says, the phone number, which means it's clickable. And also these buttons right here, it's not super obvious to me that this is the key place for me to take the action. If I were to take a look at how this looks on mobile, which is where, how most people are actually searching now, let's just take a look to see how it looks. This may not be accurate, but it does speak to the importance of like, well, if on mobile, it's going to be smaller, right? So it would make more sense for me to actually, have this be full bleed and then move this down here so that, I can make this a full section that people are forced to look at. The second thing that I see is this huge block of text. Like no one's going to read that. You need to be having pictures. You should be adding, information about, you should have maps set up down here so people can find you. You just want to like convey your information very well. And so like that's another issue that I have with the site is that, above the fold, this is stretched, doesn't look very professional, doesn't funnel them to see the main call to action, which is, probably to go into programs. You may want one singular one, which is schedule a tour, right? So here's their main call to action that I would suggest for new business that I would have like right here or even just over the images, right? Like you just want people to be super clear on what's the key action to take. And then also, I don't know if this is a header one. I mean, let's take a look at their code. So another piece of advice, you can just right click, go into page source to see what the code is. And I would just see, okay, they have no H1. So the H1 is another place where you want to have the keyword. It's called header one. So the header one tag is the third place that Google is going to take a look. So they will look at the title for sure. Okay, they will look at the description, the meta description, and they will look at the header one. In addition to looking at what does your paragraph text look like? How do you name your images? Do you have any bolded or hyperlinks? Do you have synonyms? Like there's a laundry list of things that Google will look at. But the title tag, the meta description, and the header one are the three most important places that Google will immediately pull from. And these places are typically near the top of the page. So that's just another thing that I would advise you guys to just really consider when doing it. If they did those things, it's very possible that, they would move up into the top rankings. And if they're one of the first providers that people will see, they're going to get a lot of clicks. But, the other thing that I'm seeing is that, this is a type of business where you may really want to consider doing Facebook ads. So Facebook ads are just a really good tool for multiple reasons. So I would just draw this out. So if let's say this is your site. Okay, so we'll name the site. Okay, I would really consider like what are the different ways that people that we discussed was, well, people might find you in the maps, right? So Google Maps might be one way that people are going to get to your site. They may find you. So let's just name that. So we'll say maps. We'll call this maps. Google Maps. Another way they may find you is going to be organically, right? So people Google, they don't want to look at the maps ads, and they may just say, okay, I'm just gonna Google it, see what shows up in Google, and then come here, right? So we'll say this is organic. Another way that people will be able to possibly find you is going to be AdWords, right? So you may want to, like we said, no one is actually really bidding on it. But you may want to run some ads, right? So, you can run some ads to get people to your site. And, that would be Google AdWords. One place I did see ads actually, even though there were none up here, was when we opened up the maps. You saw people running ads here. So it may be more valuable to run ads here, right, versus here, because this is people that are specifically looking for a resource, versus if people are Googling, So Facebook ads would be another thing to really consider, just because this is this is a business to consumer type of local service. And so whenever you do B2C, right, it's always a really good idea to consider Facebook, because you have direct access to your potential customers, especially if it's local, because then you can use a location modifier. I didn't plan on showing you Facebook, but I will kind of go into it so you guys can get an idea of what I do. Um, Maybe they're interested in like career-oriented things. You can target it by their gender. You can target by their location. So maybe people that are a 20-mile radius of downtown Seattle is who you would target. And it just allows you to get exposure. Facebook ads are really cheap. They're still anywhere from $2 to $5. It's severely underpriced, and it is a really good resource, not only to get initial traffic to your site, but you could do something called retargeting. So all these people are coming to your site, right? And you have the Facebook pixel on your website. So what Facebook pixel does is it records, oh, these 4 people came on my site. And what you will be able to do is actually retarget them. So you can actually say, oh, these people came, I'm going to specifically target these people now, right? These people that came, I'm going to target them on Facebook again. So what ends up happening is it becomes cyclical. Like they come on my site, okay, they're checking them out. Maybe they have to consider, maybe they ran out of time or whatever. Maybe their kids started crying, right? And they don't actually sign up to come for a tour. So all these people that came on, right, you're going to be able to retarget them. And you can send a specific message for these people that are retargeted, right? So maybe to close the deal, you offer them a discount or a lead magnet of some sort to get them to actually come in and schedule a tour. Like maybe you offer like a day free or whatever it is, right? And so these people that came onto your site, they're super familiar with you already. And so they're going to be more amenable to clicking on your ad. Oh, I forgot to mention one. Blogging and YouTube are also great ways to possibly get people onto your site as well. So let's just add that here: blogging and YouTube. YouTube here. So there's all these ways to get people onto your site, and you're just going to retarget them, right? And so even with retargeting ads, right, these tend to be super cheap but have a very high conversion rate. So this is a really good way for you to have a system of like, okay, I'm going to get these people onto my site. After they come on my site, either they're going to take the action I want them to take, which is sign up for a tour or sign their kid up at the daycare, and then you would retarget them. So let me just quickly show you what I would do. So if I'm going to be retargeting some of my customers, what I would do, let me show you. have an offer that people may be really interested in. So here's my buddy Matthew. And what we did is, we used emojis to really kind of grab people's attention, right? And we listed off, what's their pain point or what could they be looking for. So like looking for a new home. And then we listed like what are the different things that, people that are looking for a new home may consider. And here we have a video of a home that he's selling or he sold that looks really nice. And then, this is how you would just kind of set up an ad. So maybe it will be a picture of, your daycare, right? And you kind of list, like if we were to use Seattle as an example, we would have, looking for a daycare. We have helped dozens of families find the perfect solution to, take care of the kids. We have openings now, no wait list, et cetera, et cetera. Like you kind of just speak into their listening of like, what are they looking for? What's their pain point? And that's how you can grab their attention. And so the other thing that you would want to do is here, this would be your lead magnet. So in this case, it'd be, getting connected to Matthew so he can help them with whatever they're looking to do. But, maybe this will be, a free session, right? So it would be like, free one day at the daycare. And then you would click, one recommendation I have is use Learn More. Sign up, download. Those tend to be a little bit more, occur as more invasive or intrusive. So I don't like to use that as much. Learn More is usually a really good one that I like. But the last piece of this is going to be, being able to target specifically. So the more specific you are, the more relevant you're going to be. But you also don't want to be too specific, because if you don't have a decent audience to reach out to, then it may not produce you any results, or you may not get enough visibility to produce the results that you want. So right here, you target by location, by age, by gender, by language. You'll usually put in English or whatever. And this would be where you do your detailed targeting. So maybe you target people that have had interest in other daycares, right? So maybe people that are interested in daycares, people that have had interest in daycares, people that are interested in things with like family, or this is where you get to test, and this is where there isn't a magic bullet. Every location is different, and you really do just have to test and just see like, well, what will actually convert. A good rule of thumb that I usually have is, for local leads, you do want to be able to get a lead for about, maybe around $5 would be the threshold that I'm looking at. But also just consider like, how difficult is it to get a lead. Different industries or different, domains will have different types of lead generation or different conversions. One other thing that I always do is I always edit placements, and I'll always say do feeds for both Instagram and for Facebook if I want to. One of the things that, Facebook wants to do is they want to exhaust your budget and exhaust your visibility as much as possible. So I always try to be super specific about making sure that it's a feed only, especially if But the name of the game is, you want to see, which traffic resource is going to provide you the highest number of conversions. Analytics will tell you this. And from there, you can just double down. Like maybe Facebook ads are doing really great, so you want to put in 20 bucks a day. Maybe maps and organic are driving most of the traffic, so you're like, oh, I don't need to do anything else. Maybe I just need to do retargeting ads so that I can reach out to, again, the people that were once on my site. Maybe AdWords will make a big difference, or maybe blogging about top 10 things to look out for when choosing a daycare in Seattle will drive traffic. I predict that it will be these two and Facebook ads if you're a local business, but who knows what it'll be. So again, the main takeaways for me would be, look, make sure that your Google My Business is set up. It could be super, super easy to rank. Make sure you get keywords everywhere so you know what are the keywords to consider. Take a look at the search results. If there's lists or directories at the top, it means it's a pretty open space. Set up your on-page SEO really well, just so that Google knows what your page is about. There's a lot of parallels between how Google My Business and how your organic website are set up. But you want to have your keyword here. You want to have your keyword here. You want to have your keyword in your H1. Name your images. You can easily find someone that can help you with some of this basic stuff. You can go on like Upwork, or maybe one of your local, like, if you do SEO Seattle or whatever, I'm sure there'll be a ton of providers. As you see how there's all these companies here. But you can pretty much easily do it by yourself, or you can find a freelancer that can do at least the basic on-page SEO stuff for Google My Business and your website for free, or not for free, but on Upwork for pretty cheap. And then I would do Facebook ads. So again, this is something where you can do it for initial traffic and branding and awareness. You can do it also just for retargeting. I would probably recommend both if you've never done it, just to see what works. But this would be my quick analysis of how you can make a difference for your own website, especially if you are in the daycare space. So that's it, guys. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if there's anything else, any questions you may have. I will put the resources in the description box. I'll put some notes in the description box, and then you can just email me if you have any questions, guys. Thank you. Bye.